When people start to do a baby schedule with their baby, they often wonder exactly what the night feeding schedule should be. So when I say night feeding, I mean during the nighttime when baby should be sleeping, you are hoping to be sleeping. What exactly do feedings look like during that time? We are going to cover that in this video, so let's get into it. But first, I'll briefly introduce myself. Hello, my name is Valerie. I am the mother to 4 children who range in age from 9 to 16 years old right now, and I have been blogging at babywisemom.com since the year 2007, and I love to help parents love parenting. And of course, a big part of being able to love parenting is to get great sleep. So let's go on. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. When you have a newborn baby, you need to wake your baby up every 5 hours to eat in the night, up until baby is 5 weeks old. This is especially vital if you are breastfeeding because it helps to establish a solid milk supply not only now, but months from now. So if your baby is 0 to 5 weeks old, you need to make sure that baby is not going more than 5 hours between feedings in the night. Also, in that age range and beyond, no matter the age of your baby, you need to make sure that your baby is getting enough feedings in a 24-hour period for your baby's age. For example, a baby in the 0 to 5 week age range needs 8 to 10 feedings in a 24-hour period. So if you are feeding your baby every 3 hours and you start at 7 a.m., then you are feeding at 7, 10, 1, 4, 7, and then around 10 p.m. again. This 10 p.m. feeding is a dream feed. So in total, that is 6 feedings so far in your 24-hour day. That means that between 10 a.m. and 7 a.m. the next day, your baby will need to get up at least twice in the night in order to get the minimum of 8 feedings in a 24-hour period. Your baby might naturally wake up for those feedings, but if not, then you need to be proactive and make sure that you are waking baby up for those feedings. It's one thing to every once in a while let baby go a longer period between feedings, or to not quite have that 8 feedings in a day. But if you do that consistently or pretty frequently, you're going to find that the schedule just does not work. So if you want a baby schedule to work for your baby, you have to follow these rules and guidelines and be very mindful of it. You can't underfeed your baby and hope that your baby will stay consistently on a consistent feeding schedule. So let's look at another option, because waking 2 times a night isn't exactly what we're all hoping for with a baby, right? We're hoping for maybe once a night. I feel like once a night you can do for a while. Twice a night is very exhausting, but let's see if we can get down to once. The way to do this, if your baby can only do 8 feeds in a day, some do need more, but the way to do this is a 2.5-hour feeding schedule in the day rather than a 3-hour feeding schedule. So if you still start at 7 and you have 2.5-hour feeds, then you have 7, 9:30, 12, 2:30, 5, 7:30, and then a 10 p.m. dream feed. That makes it so you had 7 feedings during your day so far, and so you can have just 1 in the night, hopefully, unless your baby, of course, needs 9 or 10 feedings. Another good option, if your baby isn't willing to eat 2.5 hours in the day, or that really doesn't work for your family, is to do cluster feeding at night. And this is where you feed every 2 hours in the evening rather than a 3-hour schedule or 2.5-hour schedule. I do have a whole video on this and a whole blog post, so you can check those out in order to learn more about cluster feeding. So here's how a cluster feeding schedule would look with a 3-hour schedule during the day and cluster feeding in the evening. So if you started at 7, then you would have 7, 10, 1, 4, and then you start your cluster feeding. So 4 and then 6, so 2 hours later, 6, and then 2 hours later again, 8, and then 2 hours later again, 10. But sometimes I find that even a cluster feeding baby, it's going to be better to have the dream feed at 10:30 rather than 10. So you'll want to try out different timing for that dream feed. And then that gets you to 7 feedings in the day, while you can still have a 3-hour feeding schedule in the daytime and leaving you with just 1 night feed at night. With all of these examples, I'm sure you have noticed how a dream feed is pretty vital in getting that last feed of the day in there so that there's fewer feedings in the nighttime. A dream feed is a feeding where your baby is, you just go get your baby from bed and feed baby without really trying to totally arouse your baby. Your infant really has to be awake enough to eat, obviously, but you aren't looking to get baby fully awake. You don't want to be socially interactive. It's just we're getting you up, we're feeding you, when we're burping you, change the diaper, and put baby back down to sleep. I do have a video and a blog post all about the dream feed if you'd like to learn more. Not all babies easily take to the dream feed. I had babies that were super hard to get to take a dream feed, and I worked to get them to take it because to me it was worth it to have one fewer night feed. But some people find it's just not worth the hassle and they would rather just have that extra night feed. That's totally fine. The dream feed really is for the parent so that you can get more sleep at night. It's definitely not necessary. If you choose to not do a dream feed, just make sure that you are keeping that in your mind as you see other babies, the same age as your baby, starting to sleep longer stretches at night while your baby isn't, and that's simply because your baby isn't taking that dream feed. So just be logical about it. Some people get really emotional and upset and frustrated that things aren't working for their baby, but in reality it's just the difference in a dream feed. Also take note that the timing of the dream feed is vital. This is explained in my dream feed documentation and videos, but 10 p.m. isn't the gold standard for a dream feed. That's just used here as illustration. I often found around 10:30 to be my favorite time for a dream feed. You do want the dream feed to happen before 11 p.m. After that, you're into night feeds. But some babies are super sensitive to the timing of the dream feed. So try different times and see which one works for your baby. When we're talking about a newborn night feeding schedule, it's very important to acknowledge and talk about the importance of having baby eat enough in order for you to build a milk supply if you're breastfeeding. People often worry about breastfeeding on a schedule and think that if they have baby on a schedule, then breastfeeding will fail. It doesn't have to fail. I breastfed all 4 of my babies for at least a year each and did it on a schedule. You can also have success, but you need to be aware of these rules and acknowledge and accept them. So waking at least every 5 hours at night and making sure baby gets 8 to 10 hour feeds in a 24-hour period. I will note that not all moms follow these rules and breastfeed without a problem. So that's possible. The trouble is you never know until you've tried. So you may try not following these rules and it may succeed for you. You may be fine, but you also may find that your milk supply goes away. So you don't really know until you try, so you can just decide what risk you're willing to assume and go from there. The best practice for a baby schedule when you're breastfeeding is to wake every 5 hours in the night and to feed 8 to 10 times a day in a 24-hour period. Okay, that wraps up our discussion on baby nighttime feeds when you are doing a baby schedule. I hope this helps you to understand what you should be doing, what you should not be doing, and help you to get your baby sleeping well through the night now and in the future.